You kept the screen, Cabana. That is funny. Yeah, the background. Welcome, everybody. SKTLs Volunteers call. Let's jump right in. I think markets, by the way, how about that? That was I was with Dan yesterday. I'll talk about the Space Investor Day in just a moment, but I told him, and if I'd written it for Trading with Cody, I'm sort of glad I didn't at this point, because my prediction was we were going to be flattish. Like everybody was all amped up and either ready for a big rally or owned puts for a big tank. And well, we got the tank. Trade if I had feet to fire between now and between that and what I did. Basically, I shorted some of that volatility, not much, but in my hedge fund I shorted a few calls, shorted a few puts. Some of those actually expired even today. Some of them that I did just reversed immediately, and I ended up even covering. But I have a few short options on, which I usually don't, but I did that today. Shouldn't have recorded that part. What am I going to do? So anyway, welcome everybody. Boy, it's a big crowd. I love it. We're growing. We've got momentum. Let's talk space. Let's talk crypto. Here's the story. Yesterday, I go up to Albuquerque to meet Mr. Dan Gerasi, who wears many hats. I basically brag on him as being the chairman of the Planetary Society, but he's also like a big shot executive in a giant private space company. And he's a former private equity Wall Street, big wig too, or whatever. But thanks for yesterday, Dan. I met up with him in Albuquerque. He lives in Houston, but he came up to Albuquerque to meet up with, it's called Q Station. And it is a, not quite an incubator, but an incubator that is funded by the federal government, the Department of Defense. Dan, correct me on any nuances that I'm messing up along the way here, and then I'll actually let you talk some more about everything. It was neat. What the space is just sort of an open space, very big, looked like New York City kind of even setup. It was cool. And it's open space. And the idea is that Air Force Research Laboratory people, startup space companies, University of New Mexico space students, anyone that's spacey can apply and come use this space and work out of there. There's like an attorney that does space law for a big for a big law firm, but he works out of there I don't know every day, but several days a week. I think he goes over there and works out of it. And we met all kinds of really neat space people. Then I'm getting a tour from the facilities director, who's a young 35-year-old-ish guy who, frankly, will end up in the private sector making a lot of money someday because he's a go-getter and he's too good for being a bureaucrat. But at this point, he's the director of the center that works for the state of New Mexico, and they are collaborating with the Department of Defense, Space Works specifically. Air Force Works is also like an advanced aeronautic kind of thing. They're also out of it. They're all in this together. We're getting a tour of the facilities. We end up in the back, and they've got these Zoom rooms this place used to be an Urban Outfitters. And now they've got these Zoom rooms where people can do Zoom calls. And one of the door opens as we're looking at it. And it is the deputy director of the Space Force. And he's one of the guys we're there to meet. Space Works. Which is an investment. I'll let Dan explain what it is. Anyway, this guy, he's federal. He's a Fed, and he's one of the guys we're there to meet. And we just hit it off. We're talking about planetary defense, national defense, space debris. I talk about SKTLs. I tell him all about the concept. He loved it. Everybody there was like, yeah, this is so cool. And then they end up in Dan and him and the other guy. Dan's got a partner, Greg's here. So Greg and Dan and I are all standing there, and Greg's like, hey, but and what about this company? And they're all going back and forth about these like space startup companies that either are specifically focused on space debris or have arms, pun intended, I guess, to clean up space debris. And I'll let Dan talk a little bit in one moment, but here's what I want to give up. What I walked away with, and I was up last night thinking about it, because I was up at 4 a.m. this morning thinking about it. It felt like New York City .com era, 1998, going to a conference with like these private .com companies that are all excited about this internet thing that's coming, but most people are like, yeah, I get it. It'll be there, but when, I don't know. And maybe someday, or what is the internet at all? If you're old, you know, like that was happening. It reminded me of 2013, 2014 crypto, where you could go to a conference, and I did, and I'd meet like people talking about crypto and startups in crypto. And these people were like excited and doing things, and there was all these neat ideas happening. And it was early, and it was like, but you could feel the buzz, but you knew it was coming. It was just a matter of timing, maybe playing out, and maybe letting economy cycles play out, but you could just feel it and knew it was coming. That's exactly what it felt like walking out of there. And now Dan and I talked last week. We showed a chart that showed a parallel of looking at the .com era with what we expect could happen in the space revolution that we're about to live through. And as you recall, you know, it's sort of like a 20-year chart, and it showed, you know, the bubble crash, consolidation, and now we got multi-trillion-dollar companies and hundreds of billions of dollar companies and companies worth in totality trillions of dollars that do .com related stuff. And that's where, like, yesterday reinforced my belief that this is about to happen and where we are in it. And it's still very early. It's like second, third pitch of the top first batter of the first inning. Like, it's these tiny little startup guys who, and college students, some PhD guy who's doing gyroscopic satellite development stuff, and a software company that does space software. And that's here. And you can see it in the chart. It's not there yet, but you know, it's that blip that we're starting to go in. And I've been saying for a long time, in 2, 3, 4 years, there's going to be dozens of really great space companies in the public markets that we can invest in. And then we'll probably have a bubble, and then we'll have a crash, and then we'll have a consolidation, and then we'll have the multi-trillion-dollar economy. And it'll play out over somewhere from like a 3 to 20-year period. And hope, frankly, because of Kurzweilian acceleration of rates of time and money moving as fast as it can, and cycles playing out faster than ever, we'll probably, and the innovation compounding upon itself of thousands of years, that now we have in 10 years more innovation than we had in the last 100 years, which was more innovation than we had in the first 10,000 years. That stuff is going to play out, and it might happen remarkably fast. It might happen within 10 years, especially if Starship and Blue Origin are all developing and we're going to Mars and Moon, and people are doing the stuff that we think could really happen sooner rather than later. Last point I just thought of, and I want to mention real quick, and then I'm going to let Dan talk, and Greg, if he'd like to say anything, that it was the other thing that I was blown away with was 2 different really deep in the trenches, smart people from that place yesterday were like, everybody believes that SpaceX is definitely already won, but you better not count out Blue Origin. I don't know, wait, whoa! And I even called them out. I was like, wait, no, like, they didn't even really go to space, and Bezos had to like be the first one, and like, what are we doing? It's like, not like Elon's over there like, wait, I'll wait till I go to Mars. Like, yeah, I'm like, these guys, like, Elon's landing rocket ships daily for NASA. It's like, who got 3,000 satellites up? And they're like, yeah, but what Bezos is doing behind the scenes is, you guys don't know. We don't even know, but we know more than you know, and they're doing amazing things. It was amazing. I totally was blown away. I'm so excited, more than ever. It's going to be, like, that doesn't preclude the fact that, the market's shit right now, and it'll probably be brutal for a little while because the economy's got through the cycle that it's got to go through. Dan, I'm shutting up. Greg, if you'd like to hop in too. Talk about yesterday.
So what happened yesterday was, as Cody mentioned, Q Station is an accelerator. It's funded by the Air Force Research Lab under the auspices of the SpaceWorks accelerator programs. There's a handful of them around the country. They bring in young companies that are in their first couple of years. Some are pre-revenues, some are post-revenue, all with innovative technology that the Air Force Research Lab and SpaceWorks, which is the innovation arm of Space Force, have deemed to be viable, promising technology. So they bring them in. They pay for them to go through the program here, learning what they can, getting connected and networked, and trying to support them in the development of these young businesses. In addition to that, because AFRL, this is the second largest Air Force research lab in the country behind the main one in Dayton, and it's here at Kirtland Air Force Base. All of the research done out here in Albuquerque is done for the Space Force, actually, not for the Air Force. All of their technology research goes right at the Space Force. So when you hear people saying, gee, the Space Force isn't that big, there's not much behind it, it's the Air Force that's behind it, providing a lot of the support and resources. What we did do is we had a meeting with Gabe Mounts. As Cody mentioned, I wanted Cody to be able to meet Gabe, the deputy chief of the SpaceWorks, the guy who really architected the setup of SpaceWorks, and he is based here. And then Matt Fetro, who's the tech outreach lead for the Air Force Research Lab. So he deals with the whole notion of connecting private space technology to the Department of Defense for use by the government. And so that's where the combination comes in. What we were talking about was this notion of we're trying to provide support to them through something that Greg and I have been working on that would help to see these companies through these critical periods in the beginning. And more importantly, talking about creating a fund that could help to drive investment into these newer companies on a broader scale, in parallel with the Air Force providing a lot of the due diligence, SpaceWorks providing due diligence on the technologies, kind of as a risk mitigant. Some of the stuff that was in that chart, actually, that Cody shared last week. But all in all, Cody got to meet these guys. There's a great relationship formed. I think Cody will be able to come in here anytime he wants now and spend time and visit.
So by the way, show them the space. You're there right now, aren't you? I can tell.
Yeah.
If you would, just give them an idea of what I was talking about. I just shared the YouTube. Yeah, look at that. It's just this open collaborative space. Yesterday, there were 20 soldiers in the back from the Air Force Research Laboratory doing something with PowerPoint, and it's an open, security place. So I did walk over and look at the screen and check it out.
An easier place to meet than going on the base. That's why they come here. So
I was a little too intimidated to go actually introduce myself for whatever reason. It was the uniforms. They were all in their fatigues, and I was like, I better not bother them.
But not to take up the whole meeting on this topic, but the kind of the headline from it is, there's an opportunity to truly tap the resources. And one thing I'll say that really is relevant for this group, Gabe made a comment to me about, gee, maybe we should try to figure out a way to do something in tandem with SKTLs, because Orbital Prime, the big first initiative by SpaceWorks to prime an industry group to create a commercial space, was called Orbital Prime, and that's strictly for debris mitigation. And so they gave out 125 grants to 98 companies to
Sound
develop.
like a familiar concept, everybody?
to develop their technology that they had submitted, all around the notion of approaching, retrieving, and disposing of orbital debris. And so the whole notion of what the SKTL story is, and Cody described it, might be something we can work with them to connect to the SKTL's environment to see if we can't drive that into some of the companies.
I've just included a YouTube video from Gabe's recent TED Talk here from an Albuquerque TED Talk, talking about the intersection of private with the public sector in the space industry. It's a great talk. I watched it this morning.
You can follow him on LinkedIn too. He posts everything there, and there's a lot there, which is interesting.
And yeah, I'm going to apply and start to start going, and maybe once a month, twice a month, or when I'm going to fly out somewhere before I go to the airport, work out of the Q station facilities and just rub elbows, continue to rub elbows with really cool space related stuff, people. There is some neat stuff, we'll slow, as as always, it's like, if it works, it'll be great. And I'm going to channel some energy into, like learning from Gabe and Matt and, anybody who's over there. And along with that, trying to nurture a relationship. And if SKTLs makes sense for anyone along the way, the whole idea is this thing's virtuous and beneficial, and they have a space debris concern that we could help fund. So it would be amazing. It would clearly make a lot of sense to try to collaborate. Greg, you want to say anything real quick? And then we're already at 20 minutes, but we got a few other topics I want to hit. Great. All right, come back if Greg, if you want to hop in here in a moment. We've been meaning to talk a little bit about NFTs again. My man Philip and I, in the last couple of weeks behind the scenes, have made an NFT or two. I tried to make something. When I was making an NFT on this one place to print it, it was and what I was doing, we originally made one, and then it was like, okay, let's see if we can make it so that people could buy that NFT for SKTLs. You trade the SKTLs for the NFT, and we're just learning. That's all. We're just trying to figure out how this all works. And so then we were like, okay, went in, and that was interesting, but you had to use, one of the mainstream tokens to do it. And so they're like, let's go find a down further in the trenches, smaller company that'll do this. So then we found another one. We tried, it was, the first one was OpenSea. The next one was like Open Platformc.io or something. And they're like, all right, let's go. And again, like, we're not putting any money or risking anything. I'm just creating an NFT. I was just learning. So I went in, I made one NFT of a space art from my friend Raul that is already for sale on SKTLs.com. And then I was like, oh, what else I could do? I could take the logo, because it said print a series of these. And I was like, let me print 10 NFTs of our logo. And this will be the first exclusive series of SKTL NFT, whatever. And I even put in the description, this is just a test, but maybe someday they might actually be worth something, la la, ha ha ha. And I built it, and I never did get the series to print, but I did make an NFT. And then I was like, all right, let's see if I can purchase it for SKTLs. The thing says coming soon, the ability to paste your token ID into it. And so I am very excited. I think we're almost at the point where we are going to be able to sell NFTs for space artists or whatever in exchange for SKTLs, and be able to put that on the website and talk about it and direct people to do the stuff and continue to build the community. Any questions or comments about that? Thumbs up at least. Okay, thank you.
Nice.
All right, yeah, thanks, Piper. And a little affirmation there, So, Philip, what else is on our soft
marketing
agenda? And let's hit it.
Yes, marketing's next.
marketing. So you continue. Have you been working with my man Cabana, Wes? Have you talked to Philip? Are you guys continuing to move this project along? And we're on cue for Tuesday, second Tuesday of next month for our first SKTLs podcast YouTube video.
Yes, everything's looking good. I do have a comment on the marketing aspect. So
Hold on, Philip wants to. Well,
actually,
Wes
I
was
want to
trying
talk to you after this, Cody. Can I
and
talk to you after this?
We couldn't hear him. Wes, what were you going to say? We got nothing. Your microphone's broke. Good thing you do this for a living. It doesn't even do anything for a living. He looks at his crypto prices, but he does this a lot. He spends his energy doing YouTube stuff. He can't get his microphone to work.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have you know that I have rolled mucho crypto profits into tradingwithcody.com stocks. So just
That is a wise man. Wise man.
Okay.
And not that
Just
I'm thinking
saying.
my stocks are infallible or anything, but I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things.
No, DCA.
You made a ton of money in crypto. Wise. Please.
Except that LLAP. I don't know what the hell's going on with that thing.
I
But
know.
anyway,
Look at 250. It's a good buy. Until then, I got nothing for you.
Anyway, sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Cody, can I just talk to you offline after this real quick
Absolutely.
about this? All right,
Yes.
good. Thank you. That's all I have to say about the marketing.
All right. Well, we continue to do this stuff. And I think what Philip is probably going to mention when we get offline is, we continue to even explore the idea of trying to get someone to talk about it that's got a crypto following without, necessarily like, I don't want to pay, if they believe in the project, let's get them to talk about it. Philip is setting up some calls with some YouTube, crypto people, and we're going to, talk to them and get to know them some. And hell, I will throw them a few SKTLs if they'd be interested in talking about it and then fully disclosing that we gave them SKTLs to talk about it. I got no issues with that, frankly. Questions, comments? And yeah, Philip, call me after. We'll hit it up. Is there anything else on the agenda?
Yes, we're supposed to vote on the LinkedIn page. I say we just use the one you already made, Cody, because we can just transfer the graphics that Joe made for us.
Okay.
There.
Then let's not
Wanna do
vote on
that?
that. Let's just do that.
Let's not vote on it. Let's do it.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to put that back. I'm going to put Wes's background on my screen so that people know I used to almost be famous.
Yeah. Yes.
Since I can't get any validation from you guys with my cool NFT stuff, I'm going to have to find other ways. Anyway, all right. Sweet love, peace, happiness. I appreciate all of you guys. And we used to have women here. We used to have people of color. We used to have foreigners. We used to have guys from Nigeria, for crying out loud. Where's our Nigerian friends? Piper, reach out to our Nigerian guys. Ask them to come back next week. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Okay, last thing before we go. Everyone, bring one person to next week's call. Let's have some fun. Let's do this. Let's build this. Let's have 40 people on here next week.
Okay.
Will do.
Where's Danielle?
I've asked her 2 or 3 times to start coming back to the meetings, but it's usually like on a Thursday night when we're texting about the website, and then we didn't, and I think she forgets. And so, Sanatsi, do you have Danielle's phone number?
No.
I'm going to get it to you. I'm going to text it. I'm going to forward you her contact info. And if you would, reach out to a reminder, and then that it's coming, and then on Monday, and then on Wednesday, like you do with Daniel, ask her to pop in if she would.
Sure.
Speaking of that, Margarita, we should.
Yeah. What happened to her?
Her husband. I need to just be. I'm always like, hey, tell Margarita I said hi. We miss her. I need to be like, I'm going to text Margarita. I'm going to text Margarita on. Will you remind me on Monday to text Margarita, and I'll get her to be here on Wednesday, or
Okay.
if she can at least.
Okay.
All right. and bring some variety, some women and younger and older. We need youth. We don't have enough youth here, so bring some 20-year-olds, bring an 18-year-old, someone. Let's get some youth in this room, in this volunteer room. All right, that's our assignment for this week. Thank you so much for all of it. Let's keep doing it. Open the door to space. What's our where's Joe today? Joe Anderson.
Hey, make some space.
Make some space. Peace, guys. Thanks. Bye. Hey,
Joe can't make
Dan, be safe up
it.
there.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.